Hello and welcome to the Radioactive Ramblings podcast. I'm your host, Aaron, and today we are going to be doing the third part of our Fallout lore series, God Bless the Enclave. Richard, you're a Fallout 3 fan. You've got to be excited for this episode of Radioactive Ramblings.
I am. Not an Enclave fan, obviously, but I would say that I definitely know more about them than I do about other groups, other factions. Maybe not so much about the founding though, which I'm excited to talk about today.
Yeah, the founding of the Enclave is really murky and sort of put off to the side a little bit. It's a little mysterious. It seems like the Fallout show is going to be giving us a little bit more about that as we go along. They're dropping some hints. But as far as we know, it's sort of a baseline, shadowy cabal type organization gets formed out of all these powerful people. It's a familiar story. It's about power and greed and corruption and things that would never happen in real life America.
Never will, and yeah, I am definitely happy to talk about that. I always love groups like that. I think they're just fun. I don't know why, but they are.
Yeah, put an evil group into cool armor, and you've got the makings of an interesting faction for
Oh
sure.
my god, XO1 power armber, please,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
XO3
The
Hellfire, ooh,
Ooh,
that
yeah, the Hellfire power armor is pretty awesome. To be honest, there's not a set of Enclave power armor that isn't awesome.
that's true. That's true. That's the one good thing that they did.
Yeah,
Also,
they've got all the
dogs.
cool the dogs. I don't know if that was such a good thing, but
Dog meat though. Dog meat's so silly. I love him or
yes.
her.
All right. So Richard, you were sick last week, which is why we are a little bit late on this one, but you're feeling a little bit better now, right?
I am. I will be periodically muting my mic to have a fucking like coughing storm. But
Mm,
aside from that, we are all good. I took my pills, so I'm going a little less insane. Although that's not to say I'm not still going completely insane.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm kind of annoyed because we were going to start off that new project, and
Yes.
then I was too sick for it. But that's all right because we'll get it started this weekend and we'll get it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't worry about muting when you cough. Just cough right into the microphone.
Oh, all
It'll
right,
be more fun that way.
right. Just like going up in public and coughing in random strangers' faces.
Yeah,
Obviously.
exactly.
Uh,
It's way more
I used
fun
to do
that
that
way.
during COVID, actually, especially when I had a positive COVID test. Genius
Yeah.
move, totally. I highly
Call that
recommend.
one sickness roulette.
I do, actually,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a fun game, passed down in my family for generations.
Yes. Fun for nobody except for you.
Hey,
That's
hey,
the
that's all
truth.
that matters, all right?
Entertaining yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's my main goal in life is to just entertain myself. Anyone else who's entertained in the process, that's just a bonus.
Mhm.
All right, so let's get into our first section here, which is the same name as our episode today, God Bless America. Or I guess the episode is God Bless the Enclave, and this section is God Bless America.
Yeah, get your facts straight. What the hell, bro?
Yeah, we've got a lot of the like propaganda type stuff going on today, and that's because that's very much the core of the Enclave. It's a very hyper, like American, militaristic type of organization. Not democratic. They're very much authoritarian, but they claim to be a democracy. The Enclave is America took a dark turn towards authoritarianism in this timeline, and
Yeah.
that's where we find ourselves with this group.
Honestly, especially with like the propaganda, they remind me a lot of I know you have, but I don't know if anyone in the audience has played or heard of Helldivers. Very
Hmm.
similar with like just the amount of insane propaganda, and also, we don't really know like Helldivers lore, but like I feel like they gotta have a similar system of government to the Enclave, where it's like, oh, we're totally a democracy, yeah, but then they're not actually type stuff. But who knows? Side
Yeah.
rant aside, though, what do you got for the starting days?
Yeah. So the Enclave, which again is this shadowy organization, very scary and behind the scenes, they were actually formed before the Great War, before the bombs dropped. And this is kind of surprising. When I first started digging into Fallout lore years ago and learning a little bit about things, I thought that the Enclave would have been something that popped up after the war, like after the bombs, and that it was formed out of the remnants of the US government. But the people who were in charge of the Enclave sort of came to power a decade or more, in by some accounts, of into power way before the bombs dropped, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah,
And
that's actually really cool that you're seeing like the start of this group almost almost 20 years before the bombs dropped.
yeah,
Um
and
it's crazy.
knowing anything about authoritarian governments and shadowy organizations, what kind of people do you think were involved in this?
Probably the best and nicest people mankind's got to offer. No corruption. I mean, honestly, they probably could have saved the world from the bombs.
That's a take. That's a take for sure.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
so we had some, like you said, some very nice uncorrupt politicians that would never do anything wrong, including the very uncorrupt president of the United States in this timeline. He was a member of the Enclave. We don't know his name during the time of the Great War, but we do know that the president of the U.S. was very high up in the Enclave and sort of the figurehead of it.
Oh,
Um,
wonderful.
yeah, and they also had deals and these pacts of sorts with different industries and companies. And the Enclave is, we're going to get into this a little bit later, but the Enclave is actually responsible for Vault Tech and all of that. They're the ones who commissioned all of the vaults and funded Vault Tech.
In an effort to perform experiments and gain knowledge on human conditions, the organizations that would become the Enclave later commissioned something called Project Safe House. And Aaron, what the fuck is that? What can you tell me?
So the gist of Project Safe House is that the people who were in the Enclave, they knew that nuclear war was coming. The basic gist of Fallout at this time, right before the war, was all of the important people in the world knew that this shit was ending. They knew that the world was gone and done for. It's so instead of trying to save the world and stop the bombs from dropping, they just thought, well, why don't we build fallout shelters instead? Which is certainly an interesting way of going about it.
Yeah. That's what I would have done though, I guess. I mean, if the world's gonna end, you gotta have some kind of backup plan, I suppose.
Yeah, and so you would think that the purpose of the vaults was originally keep people safe underground until the world is habitable again. But do you know what the actual point of the vaults were originally?
I I do not. What were the original points of the vaults?
The vaults were meant to test how humans survive in different conditions, gather information, and then once the Enclave had enough information, they were going to build a big spaceship and leave Earth and colonize another planet instead of taking over the Earth again. They were just going to
Oh, they
up
were
and
just
leave.
gonna fuck off. That's
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. They were like, let's gather some data from these vaults, figure out how humans survive best, figure out what the fuck is wrong here, and we'll get the fuck out and head to another planet.
Yeah, that's a great way to do things, honestly.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Absolutely. And Vault-Tec, in exchange for creative control over many of the vaults with their experiments, decided that they would fund Vault-Tec. And that's how we sort of get the beginning of this corporation really coming to prominence in the United States, which is, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, they,
For any of the vaults, the Enclave like creative control vaults, do we see those in the game? Like um
yeah,
what do
so
they
it's
do with their
not.
creative control, I guess is what I'm wondering.
So, any of the vaults where you see experiments, there's a good chance that the Enclave were the ones who put those experiments in place. So if you think about any of the vaults where they had fucked up shit happening, basically
Most
it's
likely the
pretty,
Enclave.
yeah, most likely the Enclave. The Fallout show, spoilers for that, gave us a little bit more insight that a lot of big corporations were also responsible for these vault experiments, which is really cool. I think that expanding on that and giving us a little bit more insight is very interesting.
Yeah. I know that's definitely awesome that we're getting more info on that.
Richard, what's your favorite Vault-Tec experiment?
That's not fair because that's gonna make me sound evil. The control vaults, you monster.
The control vaults. Oh my
At the same
goodness.
time, the Vault 33 one is kind of funny.
Remind me, what was the Vault 33 experiment?
I think they never like 100% confirmed it, but at the same time, they were talking about it like in that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
At the end was like a vault that was like way too small and became
Mm,
overpopulated, and there wasn't enough food for them, and then they all kill and eat each other
yeah, that's
as
an
we
interesting one.
saw them do. Well, not do, but we saw the after effects of it.
Yeah.
What's your
So,
favorite vault, you fucking sicko? Thanks for putting that on me. God.
well, if I had to pick one, I really like the vault where they have a cloning machine, and by the time you find it, it's just a bunch of clones of a guy named Gary, and all they can say is their name,
Gary.
Gary. It's a pretty
Gary.
good one. That one and the one where they pump fucking psychedelic drugs into the air supply and everyone has gone crazy and is
Well, yeah,
constantly drugged.
that's fun. I forgot about that one. I'd like to change my answer actually
Yeah,
to that one. And fuck the control vault too. Honestly, psychedelic drugs in the air supply is way funnier than anything else.
right. If you're going to be living underground, you might as well be having fun while you're doing it.
Yeah, tweaking. Oh my god, I love tweaking.
Exactly. Uh, but unfortunately, we're getting a little bit off track here with my stupid ass questions.
Yeah,
So
what the
let's
hell,
continue on with
Aaron?
the Enclave.
Let's talk about Poseidon Energy making some deals. All right.
Yeah. And do you know anything about Poseidon Energy other than the fact that they were a big company in Fallout?
I know that they were a big company. I know that they had a big power plant in West Virginia because of
Hmm.
Fallout 76. And we captured that power plant one time, Aaron. It was pretty cool.
We did. We got our fusion core production up and running. That was a fun time.
Yeah.
Poseidon Energy is also responsible for maintaining and controlling the largest oil rig out in the Pacific, which has control over one of the last remaining oil deposits in the world.
Oh,
So that's a pretty big deal.
that
And
is.
this oil rig, whatever you think of an oil rig, fucking times 10. Like, this thing is
Double it, give it to the
massive.
next person.
Yeah, double it and give it to the next person. This thing is crazy, and it's got production capabilities. It has room for people to farm and have livestock and all this other shit. It's crazy. Now, the Enclave made a deal with Poseidon Energy in which they would take control off of this massive oil rig off the coast of California, and this is going to become the base of the Enclave and the home of the President of the United States in the aftermath of the Great War. So,
Ooh.
Enclave fucks off to an oil rig in the aftermath.
And you know, they are so real for that because I would not want to be in the continental United States after the bombs dropped because fuck that.
Yeah,
So I can't blame them. I mean, fucking off to space seemed funnier, but I guess they weren't good enough for it.
yeah. Sometime after going back to the whole space thing, because I don't think we gave that one enough airtime.
Probably
Uh,
not. I
yeah,
gotta hear whatever you got.
yeah. So very shortly after the Great War, we don't really understand why. We don't get a reason for why, but the Enclave basically abandoned that plan, and they're like, never mind. We're gonna genocide the entire Earth, destroy everything, and just start over again. We're gonna recolonize Earth instead. So that becomes their goal instead of colonizing another planet, is to kill every single mutated thing on the planet and just start from scratch.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, that's one way to do it for sure.
Yeah. Genocidal maniacs on an oil rig. Like, what more could you ask for out of a villain? These guys are straight up horrific.
They really are, and I fuck with that.
Yeah.
I can't lie.
It's all about the aesthetic with villains,
It really is.
and they've got that part down without a doubt.
Oh my god, yes. It's amazing.
So this isn't technically I'm not sure where to place Fallout 76 in all of this, but they have some information about the Enclave, about the founding of the Enclave that is, I guess it would be considered canon now, right? I mean, Fallout 76 is canonical.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything saying it isn't canon,
Yeah.
so we're gonna have to say it is.
Yeah, so one of the things that the Enclave did when it was getting itself on its feet was the Department of the Treasury was embezzling money from the United States government to fund Enclave projects.
Well, that's fair. That's fun. I love embezzlement. I mean, I don't. For legal purposes, I do not. That'd be wrong and mean. But off the record, yes, I do love embezzling money. It's great. It's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, exactly. I embezzle money every single day of my life. I'm always embezzling.
I embezzle, and then with my embezzled funds, I go to the casino and put it all on red.
Exactly.
Doesn't work.
99% of gamblers quit before they win big, Richard, and you
They
just need to
do.
keep going.
I whenever I'm gambling, I think of that picture with like the two dudes in the mine and the one dude's
Yeah.
about to hit it big, but he turns around. That's me when I'm gambling. All right, I know what's gonna happen, and I can't turn around. I gotta keep going.
If you were an Enclave member, you were the head of the Department of the Treasury, what would you do with your embezzled funds? What would be the first thing that you did?
I think I just said I would go gambling.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me, bro?
Okay.
I got a
Well,
10 in luck. I got this.
well, you see, the Enclave did something different, and they decided to put a big vault in West Virginia and put all their money in there and
Boo.
keep it all in there. And also in Fallout 76, we get some information about how the Secret Service was a part of the Enclave, which
Ooh,
we know of one very
prominent
famous,
member. Yeah,
one
I
very
know. I
prominent
know what
member
you're
of
talking
the
about.
Secret Service.
Would his name happen to be Frank Horrigan?
His name would happen to be Frank Horrigan,
Let's
and
go.
if we ever do an episode about Fallout 2, you best believe we're going to be diving into him, but just know
Oh, yeah.
that's an important name when it comes to the Enclave is Frank Horrigan.
I just think he's a silly little guy. All right. I have
So,
seen that clip of him massacring the vault dwellers as the door opens. But
yeah,
that he's just being silly.
he has some anger issues, but other than that, I mean, who among us doesn't have anger issues like that, right?
Right. I mean, when I need to blow off some steam, family of four, you're gone. Get out. Dunzo. All right. It's just
Thanks. I'm making notes of all of this for the police report, the embezzlement, the family of four, you
families of four. It
families of
happens a
four.
lot. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, if you hear sirens outside your home, don't worry about it.
Yeah. They would never be for me.
No, absolutely not. And so the Enclave is born from this cabal of shadowy figures, this group of very maniacal, evil people who want nothing more than to destroy the wasteland, perform fucked up experiments, and recolonize the wasteland. Now, for the sake of not spoiling too much about the games and not getting into too much info that we're going to be covering in future episodes, we should talk a little bit about the structure of the Enclave. And then I think that other than that, this is going to be a little bit of a shorter lore video or lore episode, a little bit less information than we've done in the past couple episodes, just because there's less about the founding of the Enclave, but I think it's still important nonetheless.
Yeah.
That's why I tried to fold in a little bit of the Vault Tech information as well, because we're not doing a full episode on their origins. This is sort of a two for one, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
So without further ado, I guess let's dive right into the structure.
Yeah. So, who would you imagine is the head of the Enclave?
Probably like based on how it started, I'd have to assume like another group of equally shadowy, equally unknown people.
That is 100% correct. In
Yeah.
theory, it would be the President of the United States of America.
Well, yeah, but subverting expectations is what we do at the Enclave,
Yeah.
apparently.
There's all of these little tidbits of lore that say that there is Enclave high command above the president that's really controlling things behind the scene. We have not seen them. We don't know where they are. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they are. All we know
Yeah.
is that they exist at some unknown location and that they are scary.
Yeah, I'm sure they seem horrific and evil, but who knows? Maybe they're just a bunch of nice guys. You ever thought of that way? Of it that way, Aaron? They could just be nice.
Fuck, I didn't. But now that you mention it, I'll have to reconsider that. They could
Yeah,
have humanity's best interests at heart.
obviously. That's why they created the Enclave, bro.
Exactly. God bless the Enclave.
God bless it.
So, after the war, the Enclave actually developed new technology, including, like we were talking about, the advanced power armor. You have the XO1, the XO2,
Woo.
which the XO2 is what the Enclave soldiers are wearing in Fallout 3. The XO1 is what they're wearing in the previous games, and it can be found in Fallout 4 and a bunch of other games. And then the XO3 Hellfire is a sort of a special forces type of power armor, and they have these flamethrowers that almost act kind of like Greek fire. And it's, yeah, the Enclave has all sorts of technology that's very cool. They also developed advanced vertibirds, which are these, they make up the air force of the Enclave.
Oh, nice. One thing about the XO3, just curious, is that similar to the power armor that Frank Horrigan wears?
No, so by this point, the XO2 and XO3 power armor have not been developed yet when Frank
Okay.
Horrigan is in. Yeah. So Frank Horrigan is over on the West Coast and he's in a modified suit of XO1 advanced power armor. So not exactly the first model of it, but a more advanced version. And
Yeah,
Frank Horrigan is also like a super mutant. So he
I did know
needed
that.
power
Yes.
armor. Yeah, he needed modified power armor to fit himself. So this guy is fucking insane. Think about a super mutant also wearing power armor. Guy was unstoppable.
Well, yeah, because I mean, a super mutant is basically a normal person wearing power armor already. So
Yeah,
then giving a super mutant, like, basically doubling its fucking strength and everything is insane.
yeah. And Frank Horrigan had the strain of FEV that makes you more intelligent as well
I did
as
not know
stronger.
that. That's
Yeah.
cool as hell.
So if you look in the game's files and you look at Frank Horrigan's stats, he has max of every single stat in the game.
And I think that fits. I mean, he really is just he's the specialist guy out there.
He is. Got 10 out of 10 in all his specials. Yeah. And despite the fact that the Enclave doesn't have anyone to fight with it, they had a navy for a really long time, up until the end of Fallout 2. They had the remainder, or not the remainder, but they had almost the entirety of the United States' former Pacific Fleet under their control. I don't know what they used that shit for because there were no other countries for them to fight with their navy, but they fucking had one.
Maybe it was just a defense for like the oil rig.
Could
I
be.
I don't really know what else it could have been, I guess.
Yeah. Now, if you had to guess on the West Coast, height of the Enclave's power, how many soldiers do you think they had?
Um
This isn't in the outline, so I'm throwing you into the water blind
you
here.
really are. Fuck. I don't know, like 10,000?
So that's how many people lived on the oil rig.
Oh, okay.
So 10,000 people on the oil rig, and only about between 500 and 1,000 members of the Department of the Army, which was
Oh,
the Enclave's like core military, which I
right.
think is crazy low. When I was doing the research for this episode, I would have thought it was so much more with how fearsome the Enclave is.
Yeah, that's why I figured like 10,000 seemed like a good guess, but
Yeah.
I guess not.
Yeah. The Enclave that we see in like Fallout 3 is a lot more muted and less powerful. Like the average Enclave soldier that you fight in Fallout 3 is nowhere near as powerful as the Enclave soldier that you fight in Fallout 2. You
Right.
have an encounter with an Enclave soldier in Fallout 2 and you might be cooked. Like those guys are tough as nails.
Right. And that definitely
Yeah.
helps being like close to the main base of operations. They probably have better trainers and everything.
Yeah, it could also be just a fact of Bethesda when they took over the series, they wanted the Enclave to be a little bit easier. I don't know if it was something with
Could
the
be.
balancing, but it it's interesting nonetheless to think about that. Of maybe the Enclave is in decline, not even a little bit, in decline quite a lot.
Yeah.
Now, since you are the famous Captain Gingy McRichard,
Oh my god. Never living
what do
that
you
down.
think? What do you think that the name of the most famous Enclave president was from Fallout 2?
I don't know. Probably something to do with my name somehow.
President Dick Richardson.
Wow, that's me. That's me, motherfucker.
That is you.
Was he
That is
born in
absolutely.
2004? Oh my god.
Speaking of being born in 2004, aside from being sick, what else
Um,
happened last week?
it was my birthday on the day I was so sick I couldn't talk. Woohoo!
Yeah.
It
Happy
was.
birthday, Richard.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it.
If you're out there listening, everyone send Richard a little happy birthday message in the Discord or something. Everyone wish him a happy birthday.
Y'all do not have to do that, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. And now that we've learned a little bit about the Navy and the Army, only one branch of the military left to think about, and that's the Air Force. I mentioned
Yeah.
earlier that we've got some fancy vertibirds, fancy helicopters developed, and those were created in the Enclave's like production facility on the oil rig, which is crazy. They had their own production capabilities for vertibirds, for power armor, for laser weaponry. They were really doing it all on this fucking thing.
Yeah, which is pretty impressive for post-apocalyptic. Although I guess they did ship most of their like materials and equipment over before the apocalypse started, but still impressive nonetheless to keep it up and
The Enclave Air Force was the most prestigious of any of the branches of the military, and air support in the apocalypse was something that was crazy. That no other organization had that at the time, up until the time when the Brotherhood of Steel ended up getting those production details from the oil rig in Fallout 2. Them and the NCR got the means and the knowledge to produce their own power armor and their own laser weaponry, their own vertibirds. So the fall of the Enclave was, I guess, the sort of genesis of the height of the Brotherhood of Steel's power.
right.
And as far as the structure of the Enclave goes, that's about it. It's a pretty basic organization. If you think about their military, it's very much based off of pre-war American military. Um, and there's not a whole lot else that goes into them. They're just a fascist version of the United States of America, is basically their structure.
Yeah. Which I mean, I guess makes some sense given their roots as a shadowy cabal.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we go, let's talk about their goals and what they want to accomplish out in the wasteland, which we touched on just a bit earlier.
Yeah.
Richard, what do you know about what they want to do to the wasteland?
Well, someone didn't put this in the outline, so I don't know. I don't. I
Kill
just also am not 100% sure on that. I'll be honest.
kill all mutants.
They created the fucking. Oh my god, that's so wild because they created the mutants.
They did the FEV is their creation. Their goal is to modify the FEV and create a strain, release it on the wasteland that would just murder anything with a mutated cell, which includes most humans. Because even the humans who haven't been turned into ghouls or mutants still have slight mutations from the radiation being exposed to radiation. They would all be dead under the Enclave's plan as well.
So would this count? Like, I'm just wondering for myself here. Would this count people with genetic mutations such as being a fucking ginger?
You'd be safe, Richard, because you haven't been exposed to the mutation or to the fucking nuclear bombs.
I haven't,
So
but being a ginger is a genetic mutation. So,
I think that it's more like you've been exposed to radiation and you've got some like cancer cells or something. Like that's the type of
mhm.
mutation that they're targeting here with their thing.
Uh-huh.
So
I
their
better not
goal,
find out you're lying to me, buddy. All right. If I die to these fucking enclave bastards for the way I was born, we're we're fighting.
we'll say that the redheads are safe for now, and you know you should take your chances. We'll see how it
What
goes.
I should take my chance, motherfucker. You should take your chances. All right, buddy. I see how it is.
All right, so they're gonna recolonize the wasteland. That's their whole fucking deal. And unfortunately, they don't really accomplish it. They get their asses beat every single time. Not because they are technologically inferior, they, in fact, are really powerful. It's just that they don't have the numbers to support large campaigns, so they get their asses beat by the NCR, by the Brotherhood of Steel. But now that the Fallout show has reintroduced them as a player in the Wasteland, we have to wonder, what is their role going to be moving forward?
I don't know, and it's going to be interesting if if they can manage to also attain that cold fusion, like what could happen
Yeah,
if the Enclave gets infinite energy? Like that's something to look out for. That's not going to be fun. The NCR having it, like we know them, they're going to be cool and nice with it, and
nice with it.
they're gonna be good. They're gonna be good about it. The Brotherhood, it's a little on the fence there about what they're gonna do. But I feel like if the Enclave gets their grubby little mitts on it, like that could be a huge problem.
It definitely could be a problem. It's going to be a little scary for us going forward.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see what's coming from the Enclave. I think that we're going to be getting them hopefully in the next Fallout game, which it seems like Microsoft is really trying to push up.
Yeah.
With the success of the Fallout show, I think that we're about to see a new age of Fallout content coming out. We're going to see games and tie in merchandise, things like that, that would have never been possible before this. So I'm really hyped for the future of Fallout.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
This is going to be our last sort of background information, faction origins episode for the time being. We might go back if we decide to move over to the East Coast, but right now we're sort of focusing exclusively, or not exclusively, but mostly on the West Coast because that's what's relevant to the Fallout show, and we know that a lot of you are here for that. So we're gonna move on next week and go on to some of the actual stories of the Wasteland. Now that you all have the origins of these factions, we can get into how they've interacted with each other and some of the really cool stories that Fallout has to offer.
Yeah, and eventually after we get through those, we were talking in the Discord with a few people, and we're planning on also getting to like the monsters or abominations or whatever you want to call them. I guess monster is maybe not the right term. But yeah, we'll definitely get to that down the line, and we are definitely excited to keep going with this. I mean, it's been fun so far. We're also really excited. I think we should just unveil it now. Like we're pretty excited for our next project.
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit and hinted at it a lot that we are going to have. Richard, you want to take it away because this is kind of your
This is
baby.
our brainchild. Yes. We're going to do a new series on this channel called the All Knowing's Lore Corner, which is going to be based on Elden Ring lore. We were going to record it last week, but again, sick as hell. I was having a skill issue. Uh, but hopefully this weekend we should be able to get it. That's going to be me, Chase, and Aaron. We're starting with just the timeline to sort of generally give us an outline of like what events happen in what order. Mostly a lot of just like skimming, but after that we'll go into more specifics. I think after that I've got planned out the like golden lineage just to give us like some actual information on them. Then after that we'll go into more events and stuff, but I've been excited to do this. It's been the only thing I've talked about for so long and it's going to be fantastic.
Sweet. I'm really excited for this one because you know a lot more about Elden Ring lore than I do.
I do.
So when we get into this, you're going to be able to teach me a few things, which is really what I'm looking forward to, especially with the DLC coming out in less than a month.
Oh,
It's like,
oh
what,
my
2 weeks
god.
away?
It is from Friday. It's 3 weeks. I'm super excited. I'm actually, I think I told you this, but that same day I'm getting my first tattoo on my shoulder. And so I'm
Nice.
hoping when I come home from my tattoo appointment, as I did order the collector's edition, I'm hoping that 18-inch tall figure of Mesmer is going to be sitting on my porch. And then I can put 18 inches of Mesmer next to 19 inches of Venom,
Yep.
and that'll be cool. I'm super excited for that DLC, dude. The that new story trailer, just I want to fight Mesmer so bad now because he just looks so menacing.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but if you are a fan of the Lorehounds and you've listened, this was on our feed as well as the Lorehounds feed and some of the other affiliate feeds, but it is officially Hot Lore Summer. And
Do the
the,
thing. Do the thing. I know you want to do the thing.
shout out to John for loading this into the soundboard and not deleting it afterwards. I'm gonna press the button. You ready?
The thing. Oh my god. Huntler Summer. Fucking silly. I love that.
There's a lot of things loaded into the soundboard today. I think that was all from yesterday when we recorded the Hot Lore Summer.
When I was going to get my glasses, I had my headphones on, and I heard "Huntler Summer" a couple times, and I'm just like, oh my god, this guy, he's gonna
Before
do it.
Yeah, before we started recording, I was playing it on loop over and over again.
Unreal.
So, Hot Lore Summer is going to include coverage of The Boys. That will definitely be me and Chase. Richard, I know that you'd like to join us for some of those as well. So, anytime that our scheduling is going to work out for that, we will have you on with us.
Yeah.
And we're on Radioactive Ramblings going to have weekly coverage of The Boys, full breakdown, episode by episode, scene by scene, going in depth. Um, and yeah, now let's get into a little bit of contact info. If you want to get in touch with us, let us know what sort of Fallout stories you want to hear because we do take your feedback into consideration. A lot of what people say on the Discord or email into us is kind of what we talk about here. So if you have any thoughts and feelings of things you want to know about, we're always open to feedback. So,
Yeah.
Richard, want to tell people how they can get a hold of us?
Yeah, first, before I jump the gun and get to that, I'd like to just say thank you to all of our listeners for listening to this new episode of Radioactive Ramblings. We'd love to have you be a part of the conversation, and here are some of the ways that you can get in touch with us. You could email us at radioactive@thelorehounds.com. That's one thing that we're always checking. We've got a channel set up for Radioactive Ramblings in the Lorehounds Discord, and that channel is obviously just called Radioactive Ramblings. You can send messages to us, chat about the show with other viewers, all kinds of things like that. You could leave it, use the contact form, or leave us a voicemail at thelorehounds.com. Um, Consider giving us a follow on Twitter. We're Radioactive141. We just kind of post like our news, like what's coming out this week, stuff like that. And if at all possible, we'd appreciate it if you guys could leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, other platforms that you can listen to us on. It helps other listeners like you find us, and obviously that's really what we're doing it for, just so we can sort of spread information to people who are looking for it.
We got a fun Apple Podcast review the other day. It said that we are unlistenable.
Unlistenable. Wow, what a fucking op. Who's this guy? We're jumping him. Or her.
Anonymous, Richard. Anonymous.
Wow. I bet you left it.
I did. Ever
Wow.
since you
You
joined,
rip.
I can't fucking listen anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. And like Richard said, thank you guys so much for listening. Every single one of you who tunes in, we really deeply appreciate it. We've been doing this for a little while, but we're still starting out. So every day that someone listens is a good day for us. We're just happy to have the community that we have so far. We'd really love to hear from you, so please consider reaching out through one of those methods that Richard mentioned above. All of that information is also going to be in our show notes, as well as the information that I'm about to give to you now. So, we are proud affiliates of the Barovian Podcasting Network, which is run by the Lorehounds. The one of the newest podcasts in the Barovian Podcasting Network, aside from us, is Rings and Rituals, another R&R podcast. And that is run by Marilyn R. Pukila and Dr. Sarah Brown of Signum University, a Tolkien scholar and a professor. Now, they are doing analysis of season 1 of The Rings of Power through the lens of ritual while also looking at the bigger Tolkien legendarium. This show is fantastic. They really go in depth. They give some fantastic insight. If you're a Tolkien fan and you haven't checked it out, I don't know what you're doing. Run immediately. Close this podcast. Don't listen to the rest of it. Just go listen to Rings and Rituals because it's fucking amazing. Go listen. And Woolshift Dust is run by Alicia, who is the newest lorehound, the newest of the three, John, Dave, and Alicia. And she has been covering Beacon 23. She's done an interview with author Hugh Howey and done deep dives into the Dune universe. She's doing some amazing work over there, and she just started with Deadeye Jedi Bob, the fall or not Fallout. My goodness, my brain is getting confused today. The Star Wars canon timeline podcast in the lead up to the Acolyte, which is uh, it's giving some great information. I thought I was a Star Wars aficionado, and half the things that are in that podcast I had no clue about. So, very cool podcast. Go check it out. Properly Howard movie review, where two old friends review movies. A film. Anthony is an academic. Steve is a stand-up comic. They rate movies on a scale of better or worse than a Ron Howard film. They're going to be wrapping up their season Felonies and Fugazis soon, and they're just a great time. Go check them out. You will not be able to get through a single episode without laughing your ass off. It's truly fantastic. And thank you all once again for listening. This information, as well as contact information, will be in the show notes, and we are looking forward to seeing you in our next episode.